Ideas. Now we have the second session. First session we have already gone through. Hope it was somewhat beneficial or at least illuminating to the extent of clarifying your internally built up some doubts and other significant question marks that is just hovering around in your mind. Now, this session is intended to give throw some illumination on what you understand from marked power and marked voltage in all the electrical devices that we use. If you take an electric bulb and examine it, you can see that there will be marked 220 volts, 100 watts, or 220 volts, 60 watts. Like that, both power and voltage will be marked on it. What is the meaning of that particular markings on the voltage as well as on the power? That is, why are those parameters chosen for marking and not any other? There are so many electrical interdependent parameters. Why they are not choosing all that, and they are only choosing on voltage marked and power marked? That will be my discussion today. Now, power marked refers to the rate of electrical energy. Rate of electrical energy means energy consumed in 1 second in unit time, or in other words, the wattage of the bulb, like 100 watts or 60 watts, as the case may be, by the device in unit time. Rate of electrical energy means in unit time. Vm is the marked voltage, which when supplied across the device, when you supply the same marked voltage, then the power consumed will be the same as power marked. For any other voltage greater than that or less than the V marked, it means there will be a different power, and the different power may have different impacts and different disadvantage, as I am going to explain in the following paragraphs. The V marked may vary. V marked is 220 for Indian scenario and mostly for Asian countries. That's what I saw in the Google. The V marked may vary from country to country. Example, it is 220 volts in India and mostly the Asian countries, and it is 110 volts in Western countries like USA and so on. The choice of VM for a country, why should they choose on only 110 volts in Western countries and 220 volts in India? That depends on different factors which are prioritized in that particular country, like cost. There sometimes one voltage may be 110 volts may be very costly. So Indian scenario means the cost is also a very great pinch, and therefore they might adjust only for a 220 volts. Cost, efficiency desired by the country for the devices. How much efficient they want their heaters to be? How much efficient do they want their fans to be? How much efficient do they want their microwaves to be? And so on. So efficiency of transmission chosen, it depends upon that. And the efficiency of the transmission. Efficiency of the device is different from efficiency of the transmission. Very important. Whatever current or voltage, current or power is required for the device is sent through the line wires in every household and in every industry. So that whatever loss is incurred in the transmission lines, it means most of it is wasted, and only a part of it, a very small part, is coming out to serve the device. That way speaking, the transmission efficiency will be very minimum. Transmission efficiency will be very small and very poor if most of the energy is lost in the transmission. Whereas in any setup where the transmission energy is minimized and the balance energy which is fed to the device is maximized, then it is supposed to be efficiency in transmission. So depending upon how we prioritize on energy for transmission or power for transmission, how we prioritize on the power that is needed for the device, depending upon how which devices are more often used and which are vulnerable for using the 110 volts, which will be better, and which are less cost, and so on. Depending upon the priority of the context, they choose either 220 or 110. Like, for example, if you want to have an example, this is the way I understood. The driving is left hand drive in one place and right hand drive in the other places. Why do they have this kind of difference? Right hand drive and left hand drive. Maybe they bear in mind the terrain of the country and the terrain of the roads in the country. Maybe they find out what is the material the roads are made of. Depending upon that, maybe there is some research that has gone into it, and so they find that so many vehicles are running on the road with left hand drive is suitable in one country, and with right hand drive is suitable in another country. These are the some of the things that I feel makes the difference between one custom or culture of this thing and another culture. Mostly it may not be out of fashion or any cultural and societal obligation or anything like that. Especially in these functional things, it is mostly what they prioritize on. Now coming to the next one. So now also recently they have found that after the invention of the AC generator, by which they can have an alternating current at a suitable frequency, like 50 hertz or 60 hertz, people are all over the globe, they are switching over to AC transmission, because it is generally considered that the power loss in AC transmission is by far lesser than loss. The wastage of energy in the transmission is by far lesser in AC than in DC. Therefore, most of the countries are adopting to AC only, but the frequencies again will differ. India and Asian countries, they use 50 hertz as the frequency of the AC, and USA and other Western countries use 60 hertz in the of the AC, each for its own reasons. In India, given that V marked is generally 220 volts, they will give an allowance from 220 to 230 is okay. Beyond 230, it is not permitted. It is not. It is forbidden. Because what will happen if it is exceeding? What will happen if it is lesser than this 220? So the minimum may be 220. The maximum that permissible voltage may be 230. They will give a range of 10 volts this way or that way, and therefore, what will happen if the voltage exceeds the maximum or decreases with respect to the minimum will be our next study in this contents of this day's session. The required power, say 100 watt, 60 watt, or 500 watt, etc., are achieved out of the device. Right? In India, given that VM is generally 220, the required power, bulbs may require 100 watts or 60 watts. An immersion heater or a fridge may require 500 watts for its complete working. Likewise, the wattage will vary from device to device, even in the same country. So, bearing in mind the VM that is in the marked voltages in all the devices all throughout India, and if they require a 50 watt for that 220 volts, they will calculate what is R and design the coil or the wire of the device so as to have that particular R, so that when operated on the marked voltage, it will faithfully give the marked power. VM given as 220, PM as 100 watts, say, R of the device, R of the filament of the bulb, which is having a power of 100 watts and 220 volts marked on it, will be such that R is equal to, we already saw that, V squared by P will give me my R. So 220 squared by 100 will come out to be 484 ohms. So the filament of the 100 watt bulb is so chosen so that its resistance is 484 ohms. This is whose control is this to make it a 484? It is the manufacturer's choice. He will design his wire, filament of the wire in such a way that the length also cannot be too large, because the small bulb, the portability is also there. The size of the bulb is also a concern. So they will use such a resistivity of the material that for a small length as the filament that you see inside the bulb, even if it is so, it will be so thin, and the area of cross section accordingly will be suitably adjusted within limits of manipulation. They cannot make it too thin so that only when they just twist it to make a wire, it will just break. It should not be too brittle. So bearing in mind, they will strike a golden mean and take the area of cross section to be one thing. They will choose the filament of the bulb to be in such a value of resistivity so that R becomes 484 ohms. So the manufacturer of the device takes care to design the wire used for the device to be 484 ohms. So having given that the resistance is 484, how do they calculate what length they should choose? For that, they use the relation R is equal to rho L by AC. Rho is this resistivity of the material, which we have already seen in current electricity. L is the length of the wire used as the filament in the device. AC is the area of cross section. If this is the wire, this is called the area of cross section perpendicular to which the current flows. And this whole thing is called the length of the wire. So depending upon the material, area of cross section preferred for the device, the length of the wire so chosen to make R equal to 484. Or if length along the wire cannot be accommodated, they will choose their material in such a way that when you multiply, you will get 484 here. There ends the story of that particular thing. Area of cross section also to some extent can be manipulated, but not much choice remains in the choice of resistivity, because resistivity is either for copper some particular value, silver it will be some other value. So silver cannot be used because it's very costly. So nichrome will be some particular value, eureka will be some other particular value, depending upon the manganese will be some other particular value. So the resistance varies in some regular quantities, and it cannot be varied analogously. You cannot make it increase by just 1 into 10 to the power of -8, like that you cannot change, and therefore that cannot be analogously manipulated. Stray cause occurrence may be there. What are the stray causes likely? We have to provide for emergencies and stray cause occurrences in any project of our choice. Now, V supply may be lesser, greater than V marked, or V supply may be lesser than the V marked. What is the meaning of that? What will happen where due to some weather conditions or some stray cause, suddenly there may be V supply because of some fault in the transformer which is transmitting the power from the main station to the respective homes. Because of some transformer problem, there may be a V supply which will be greater than V marked or less than V marked. What is the significance if V supply is greater than the mark within the range? So 220 to 230, if that is the permitted V marked range for permitted V marked, if there is a voltage greater exceeding 230, the maximum that it can be thought of, then in that case, the power will also be, you see that Vm is in the numerator. Vm is in the numerator because power is equal to V squared by R. So when V supply becomes greater, powers also will be greater than what is marked on that. So the greater power means greater will be the heat produced, more than excess heat will be produced that may blow out the wire. That is the caution. Therefore, whenever there's a voltage hike, the bulb may be fused. Therefore, and you have to replace it, it will not be of no use. The filament will just break and continuity will be lost. So that is what will happen when the V supply is beyond the permissible range of V marked. Now, what happens when it is lesser than that? This is the thing. When Vs is less than V marked, what will happen? Power consumed will also be lesser. Therefore, the power that is meaningfully given out as light will also be lesser for us, and the bulb will glow dim. On that day, when there is a voltage drop or voltage fall, the bulb will glow with less intensity, and therefore it will be very dim. And you cannot make any meaningful works out of it because illumination may not be sufficient enough for our use. So, what are the implications exceeding the higher voltage? If it is, if so, what are the implications of any? If V supply is exceeding the higher limit of V mark, power consumption of the designed resistance of the coil is used in the device, so that the excess power, what will happen when V supply exceeds the power, then the range of V mark, this may involve a greater power consumption of the designed resistance of the coil used in the device, and that excess power consumption may heat the wire more than is necessary and fuse the device beyond our control. So the bulb will blow out. Now, if the V supply is less than the V mark, for the same reason, the power actual will be lesser than what is marked on the bulb. So it will be less than 100 watts. But the bulb having less than 100 watts as the wattage will glow dim, and there will be the efficiency may not be that much than it is intended for. So a 220 volts 100 watts marked on the bulb, when operated on 215 volts, may consume a lesser power and glow dim on the day of voltage fall. Thus, effectively assuming R to be fairly a constant, as is designed by the for the device, voltage supply is the external parameter which is going to decide whether the power is going to be P marked, or whether the power is going to be more than P marked and blow out the device, or the power actual is going to be less than the P marked and make the bulb glow with dimness. This is what we are going to see. Power actual, okay. What are the factors? Which is the external factor, which is actually the root cause, the voltage that is supplied to the device. The voltage that is supplied to the device may be affecting various factors like power actual in play on that day, current drawn by the device on that day, energy wastage across the device by the transmission wires on that day, energy output from the device that is going to be a useful work for me, that is useful power for me. All these will be dependent on the externally regulated voltage supply. Note that by and large, resistance, which depends only on the dimensions and the material of the wire, that does not change with the external voltage conditions. Just because the external substation is giving you only 215 volts as against 220, the resistance will not self-adjust itself, is what you should know. Right? So this is the style. Generally the students, they get a doubt on this, right? With external variations. Resistance is an analogy to mechanical frictional force. When you are try to move a body over a surface, friction is an enemy which is coming and preventing the free motion of the body over the surface in spite of external force being applied on it. Resistance, being an electrical friction, is also a beautiful analogy to frictional force. In the sense that resistance prevents the free flow of electrons across the wire when it is sufficiently supported by a voltage source from the main station. Just as coefficient of friction between two surfaces, that does not bother who is applying the force. The frictional coefficient of friction will only depends on the surfaces of the smoothness or roughness of the surfaces of the body and the floor of contact. It is independent of what force one is applying. Very, very important. Same way, the resistance of the wire will not alter itself with the externally applied voltage. That will be a constant. However, I cannot say that the external force is also independent of resistance, because that is going to give an acceleration which will be F applied by A, or F minus frictional force by A by M. F by M will be acceleration when no friction is there. F minus frictional force by M will give me the acceleration with friction in play. So whatever force is applied, on that the acceleration will depend as a function of the force applied and the coefficient of friction and the frictional force. So also, as F net on the body depends, F net depends upon the coefficient of friction and the frictional force acting at the surface of contact. Here too, the current through the device, the current is the mobility of the electrons is signified by the current. So the current that is flowing through the device and the power consumed by the device, because power is I squared into R. So for a given R, I will change the power also I squared R. Depending on the power consumed by the device, both depend on the resistance used in the device. Just contemplate on above concepts in a qualitative manner, because the first catch of a thing qualitatively is the utmost importance. That only should appeal to your intuitive learning. Only then there is any point in going through the mathematical steps and going into the quantitative aspect. Just contemplate on these concepts, and I shall continue with the quantitative study in my third session of electrical power. Thank you.